Hi, my name is Eli. I have a letterboxed watch list that reaches almost 700 films, and I think the best way to tackle this is to go chronologically. So that's what I'm going to do today. So let's take a look at the first three films: The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, The Mark of Zorro, and The Kid. First off, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. This film is kind of the first ever horror movie and sort of led to every horror movie that's been released since. The biggest thing that is immediately noticeable when watching is that it definitely influenced Tim Burton's work. Look at some of these sets and paintings from Dr. Caligari and then compare them to some of these backgrounds from Batman or some of the art design from Beetlejuice. Pretty clear, right? The film, directed by Robert Wiene, is fascinating visually, and which is its strongest suit. The film follows the titular Dr. Caligari and his somnambulist, Caesar, which I had to look up. I have no idea what that means. It's basically just a sleepwalker. And basically Caesar is going around killing people in the town, which leads to a bunch of craziness and a stir-up. The movie ends with the narrator who was telling the whole story in the first place being locked up in an asylum, which puts into question how true the movie actually was and how reliable the narrator was. So what did I think of it? It was definitely interesting. It was the last thing I watched before school ended for the year, and I watched it on a tiny dorm TV with friends who told me, we can watch whatever you want, it's your turn to pick a movie. Big mistake. It was a nice break from finals, but it was not the best thing to watch right there. And I definitely see how it would be so influential and even scary, I guess, to people in 1920, but it didn't scare me whatsoever. I'm brave. No, I'm just kidding. But it is hard for me to talk about this movie just being so distant from the time period where it came out. I don't have a great grasp of the context of this silent era of film. I took one class in high school, which is actually where I learned about this movie, and we spent like a week on the 1920s. I got very easily distracted while watching. I really kind of struggled to even give it a rating, but it was definitely enjoyable. It's just so different to anything that comes out today that I can't really talk about it critically. The only thing I can specifically point out as really amazing was the set design. And I also just want to bring up that it was kind of hard to find some of these movies. I watched a restored version that was translated into German with subtitles, and it was just awesome to look at. They had fixed it up a little and added some color, so I would definitely say it's worth watching. If just for the visuals. It was a twisted, horrifying fantasy wonderland, and its DNA is in every horror film released since. 6 out of 10. The second movie I watched was The Mark of Zorro, released 1921. One of the oldest action films, swashbucklers, and appearances of the titular character, it was produced by Douglas Fairbanks and released through United Artists, the very first film released by them. It follows Zorro, who's basically just Robin Hood, protecting the poor from the corrupt governor and his comically evil henchmen. Once defeating someone with his sword skills, he leaves a Z carved in their faces. Once Zorro's alter ego's soon-to-be wife's family, stay with me now, think of kind of like Mary Jane and Spider-Man and Peter Parker, get arrested by the governor, Zorro reveals his identity and saves the day. And I really wish I had something better to say about this movie, man. It took me 2 sittings to get through, and even then, it just didn't grasp my focus at all. Blame Instagram Reels, whatever you want, but going from those to a 2-hour silent film with not really an interesting plot is not an easy feat. The action scenes were fine. It was kind of fun watching Zorro jump around and fight these people, and the acting was so over the top that it was pretty funny. Other than that, however, it was just dull. It was boring, and it is not something I would watch again, nor would I recommend anyone else to watch it. Maybe in the 1920s this was like Mission Impossible, but to someone whose attention span is fried, this film was a genuine chore to sit through. Not only was it not as good or interesting as Dr. Caligari, but it didn't have the same impact on action that Dr. Caligari had on horror. And I also just want to mention, because I feel like I should, especially with these early films, that I was able to access this through a DVD at the library. That was, I believe, a longer cut of the film than tends to be circulated nowadays, so that might have influenced a little bit. There's probably other ways to watch it. I'm not going to promote any piracy or anything, so go find a way to watch it if you're really interested. 4 out of 10. And finally, The Kid, released in 1921. This was a really nice palate cleanse after Mark of Zorro. The film follows a boy who was abandoned by his mother and the man who takes him in, played by comedy legend Charlie Chaplin. Throughout the film, the kid gets in a fight, gets taken away, gets reunited with Chaplin, taken to a police station, where he's finally reunited with his mother, who takes him home, where Charlie Chaplin eventually finds them, and the mother welcomes him in to join the family, or something. That's kind of where it ends. Watching silent movies like this can kind of get somewhat boring to me, which is probably awful to admit. But this one really did keep my attention for the entire runtime, which, I mean, I do have to admit the cut that I watched was available on HBO Max was only 58 minutes, so it was kind of hard to stray from that. But it was just a sweet story. Charlie Chaplin was able to convey so much emotion and care for the kid with just physicality. And on top of that, the physical comedy is unmatched. I mean, over 100 years later, it still held up. And I would probably say was even genuinely funny. I would recommend this movie to anyone. I mean, I feel like it really has a timeless appeal and is very funny. Anyone with any sense of humor of any age, because this movie really still holds up like a modern comedy. 8 out of 10. So that's it. First 3 movies out of 700. And, I mean, you know, these span 2 years, 1920 and 1921. So not a big difference there, but as I keep going, I look forward to kind of seeing how movies evolve. Thank you all so much for watching this video if you did. I enjoyed making it, and if it was enjoyable, please just like and subscribe and let me know. That will inspire me to make more. I'll make another one of these eventually. I'm a very busy person, and watching 3 movies a day will cut into my 9 hours a day I spend on TikTok, so it won't happen right away. But I'll see you guys next time. Bye.